Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to Star Nations Organization's main fan page, where I do my weekly, daily live stream called the Spiritual Roundtable. So welcome. I am broadcasting from Star Nations Academy, and I do that almost for every show. Yeah, it's been kind of a whirlwind since Thursday, actually. Many of you know that we had a class here at Star Nations Academy over the weekend, and the teacher for us this weekend was Polly Jo LeBay. She flew in from Massachusetts on Thursday, and we started the class on Friday night and Zoomed through the weekend. And in fact, I just took Polly Jo to the airport to catch her flight home. So yeah. But we have a beautiful day here in Tomah, Wisconsin. Blue skies. It's about 69 degrees, a light breeze, and it's beautiful. You know, if I could do the show, from outside, I would. That's how pretty it is out there. So we had quite a weekend here. It was not only fun because we got to meet some of our community members in person, but we also got to spend a lot of time diving deep into our emotions to be able to heal and release. And it was good stuff. Good stuff. And we got to laugh a lot too. We certainly did. Okay, I'm going to check to see who is in the chat. The live chat, and I almost forgot to share the show. Yeah, so I'm going to take a moment. And I'm going to share out the show. I'm going to share it over to my news feed. And I might have to close the window. Our neighbor dog across the street is a barker. And I don't know, he's outside. I might have to get up and close the window. Okay. Let's see. I need to go to my pages. That's what I need to do. There we go. Whoops. Why can't I get to scroll? Rats, they say. Okay, there it is. I clicked on it, and it won't let me scroll past post to post. Did Facebook do an update? Do you guys know if they did that? Great, if they did. Okay, let's see. Okay, whoops, got to turn down my sound. I figured it out. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share it over to my newsfeed. Just so that my friends know that I'm live streaming, a gentle reminder, right? And we're going to invite them. Please join us. There we go. And we'll post that. I see that Stephanie's already in the house and has been sharing out some sharing information. So thank you for that, Stephanie. Hey, Bobby's here. She's talking about the cards that we got that was drawn this morning. Wait till we get into them. Oh my goodness. It's a nice way to cap off the weekend, I think. And scrolling up so I can see who else is here. Oops. Holy smokes, Star Nations has so much to do, don't we? Sharing a lot. Here we go. I think I'm getting to the end of it. Maybe not. Between the shows and all the magazine information. Here we go. Julie's in the house. Julie Shumway Hill. Hello, Julie. Good to have you here. Oh, and Rochelle, you're back. Hello, Rochelle. Oh, I'm so glad you're here too. I am. I hope you're doing well. And thank you for sharing. And Andrea's here too. Hello, Andrea. Good to have you here. On a Monday afternoon where I'm at. I know that some people might be heading into evening from where you live, listening to the show, watching the show. Here we go. All right. So I wanted to share with you the deck of cards that we're using this month. It's called The Spirit of the Wheel, and it's by Linda Iwashina. Here's the picture. Spirit of the Wheel. She calls it a meditation deck, and it could be used that way, that's for sure. And it is illustrated by Jody Bergsman. Now, both of these ladies come from the Northeast, British Columbia. I hesitated only because if you're in Canada, that would be the Southwest, right, of your country. So anyway, that's why I think that you'll see, because Jody is definitely from that part of the world, and so if you can see, she has a lot of the native kind of influence in her artwork from that part of the world. Yeah. So the Spirit of the Wheel, I like it. I think the publishing is 2006 on that one. So they're still available, still in print. Yum, yum, yum. Coffee. My first cup of the day. Hey, look who's here. Rob's here. I know. Are you really here or are you not here? They don't really have a south? Why don't they have a south? We have a south. Why don't they have a south? Because they're in the north. Is that it? I think so. All right. And Marie's here. Yay, Marie. Marie's here, and she's shared it too. Good to see you in the house, Marie. Obviously, you must have made it home, right? 8 hours later. You must have left like really early in the morning. Or you decided to stop. Marie was in the classes this weekend. Either that or you stopped to take a break of the drive and decide to join us, right? Yeah. And it turns up to the territories. Yeah, that's true. That's the Canadian stuff, right? So the cards that were drawn this morning, really interesting. And I think it's a really good way to be able to share about the weekend in the class that we experienced. So the first card is Stone of Self. Stone of Self. And it's all about inner power, your true self, and potential. Yeah. And this has, you can see the movement, right? The movement with the hair and the feathers. And it looks like a spear, maybe, with a bird perched on it. And it looks like a hawk to me. Looks like a hawk. See if we can get the camera to focus a bit here. There we go. Yeah. And I would say that many of us are really connected to hawk medicine, aren't we? Messenger. Yeah. Yeah. And on lucky number 13. 13. Now, number 13, that's a 4 in numerology. And depending on what form of numerology that you are fond of, number 13, in the Ascension information, 12 and 13 are important numbers. Yeah, for a couple reasons, but mostly it's around creation. When an egg is going to be fertilized, there's 12 sperm that basically they weaken the cell wall around the egg, and it's that 13th sperm that makes it through. And so it is the one who moves forward, right, into creation. And when you think about it, there was 12 disciples, and the 13th member of that was Christ, right, Jesus. And it's the same concept. The 12 were able to come in to soften the environment, and so that what Jesus was sharing at the time of his life, people were able to hear it, receive it a little bit easier, a little bit better, right? So number 13 is really an important number. And, and many people, say that it's an unlucky number. I think it depends on where you stand. I was married on October 13th, and we've been together for over 40 years. I think it's a lucky number. All right, so let's get to the stone of self. Inner power, true self, and potential. Here's what the author has to say about this card. She says, when you have any doubts about your abilities, the stone of self card serves as a reminder that you need only look within. Right? Yeah. So, I don't really know of anybody, especially an awakened soul, right? We have doubts too. We do. And sometimes, they're not so much about our abilities as much sometimes as they're about more mundane things. It was one of the things that Polly Joe and I were sharing kind of in a laughing way, is that, usually if there's a major decision to make about life or a class or something like that, we're really pretty good at doing that. For me, it is the things like when I'm going to get a new camera or a new laptop or a software or a new microphone. And of course, I research it, right? And I research what is the best, what's the pros, what's the cons, and I get lost in the minutia. I get lost in all the detail, and I sit back and I think, I don't know which one to get. There, this one's good, but that one's good, but, and so I kind of get caught up in that, and so I get overwhelmed by all the information, and I get stuck. So which one to buy, which one to get, and what happens? Paul will come in and he'll ask me, "What are you doing?" I'll tell him, and and I could be doing this for a few days, doing all the research, right? And pretty soon he'll come in and he said, "Well, I just ordered X, Y, and Z for you." And it turns out to be just fine. But, I'm the one that got caught in all the detail, right? And I start doubting my ability to choose. I don't want to make a mistake, right? I don't want to waste money, right? I don't want to regret getting the second best one rather than the first one because of the amount of money, right? So I think that might be a kind of a nice metaphor, or maybe, to use when we're talking about our own spiritual gifts. Our strengths that we came in with into this lifetime. And so many of us, when we're first awake on our path, sometimes we get caught up in the details too, don't we? Yeah, we read maybe a book about, I don't know, let's say your intuition, and you think you're getting a handle on symbology and all of that, and then you read a second book and it contradicts the first book. And you're sitting there, okay, so what do I do? What do I do? Yeah. So we get kind of overwhelmed in the information, and we don't want to make a mistake. And so we do next to nothing, right? How many people have been there in any situation, whether it's in the mundane or in the spiritual way? Yeah. So Maria is saying that she's driving. Oh, and she's listening to us. Oh, okay. Well, you be careful. Safe driving, right? And Rob is saying it relates to the divine feminine. The rise of spiritual patriarchy led to its suppression. Well, that's true. You know, there's truth in that. There's truth in that. But you know, I think that that's a way of definitely understanding it. One perspective, right? But when we doubt our ability, it doesn't matter what gender you are. When you have doubt, when you doubt your abilities, that sometimes what we need to do is have a reminder, maybe a good friend, maybe a mentor, maybe it's some book that you picked up or a headline that you read and Spirit's trying to get a message across to you, you know? And basically it's about stop, pause, and look inside. Look inside yourself for the answer, right? Yeah. I know, easy to say. Sometimes it's hard to do. And how many people start telling your story around it, and you start getting, you know, people's opinions, right? Or perhaps you do go to your mentor or to your teacher, and you expect them to find the answer for you, you know, because of course they can't make a mistake, right? Mm-hmm. So when we have doubt, there is a rule of thumb, isn't there, about if you doubt, don't. In other words, don't proceed if you have a doubt about whatever it is. Doubt. Oh, hey, Pat's here. Hello, Pat. Good to have you here, Pat. So glad you're here. This is the first card that came. It says Stone of Self. And it's all about inner power, our true self, and our potential. Right? Yeah, I do too, Andrea. She says, I love that phrase, stone self, that which is solid in you. Yes. You know, and we can also look at it as, you know, the stone people, right? The stone people. And stones are the record keepers of things that have happened here on earth. Much like the whales are the record keepers of things that happen in the water, right? Yeah. So stones are record keepers. And so, you know, you could say that you know yourself pretty well in your stone self, right? Because you have your history. You know, to remember that how well you did something, or if you're learning by trial and error, right? What worked, what didn't work. Yeah. Judy saying, I have learned so much more through listening and watching all of my beautiful earth angels. Yeah. You know, that we, okay. So here's a little information about the north, the cardinal direction of north on the medicine wheel, right? Is that for me, the stone people reside in the north. And the north is all about earth, the element earth. And as the stones are there, they are also the record keepers, right? And so they have our individual, maybe in your area, specifically to your own home, or perhaps even to your birthplace, right? That you were actually written into the history of the earth. Imagine that, right? Little old me. Yeah, and so the medicine or the spirit of the north is all about our wisdom. And how do we gain wisdom? We have life experience, right? And we learn our life lessons, and we gain our wisdom from that. And when we're doing that, while we're doing that, we also get to know ourselves pretty darn well. Better than most other times in our lives. And so we can sense, we can know our strengths, our inner power. Some would say those are our gifts. When we know our true self, not the one with the mask on, not the one that shows that, and if you're in the 9 to 5, if you're in the corporate world, the corporate you, or, something like that, that we actually know our true self. And when that happens, it's like, that old saying is, comfortable inside your own skin, right? You have a sense of strength. Many people will say you're grounded, right? Yeah. And you tend to attract others to you because of that. But we also have the potential. So whenever we've reached a completion with a life lesson, we've gained the wisdom from it, doesn't mean that's the only one. Doesn't mean that just because you're done with that one that you're completely done. No, you just go on to the next one, the next layer, or the next experience. And then you kind of start all over again, right? Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Bobby's here too. Hi, sweet lady. Great day for stones and grounding. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah. Exactly. And I really do enjoy being with you guys too, and discussing and sharing and having this spiritual conversation about these cards, right? Any of the cards that we've used. So here is the rest of what the author has to say about Stone of Self. She goes on to say that we are all born with a purpose and the opportunities to fulfill it. Recognize that your true power comes from discovering and using your potential to make a positive contribution to the world. The Stone of Self card calls on you to share your gifts with others. We sometimes lose sight of our gifts because of life circumstances, fear, negative thoughts, or criticism from others. Yet the gifts you are born with never leave you. The gifts that we're born with never leave us. Sometimes they get covered up with the debris, right? And that debris is our traumas, right? Our emotional and mental traumas. And sometimes they get covered up by them, but we still have them. Much like our innocence, we still have our innocence too. It's still there. It might be covered up, but they're still there. And so many of us we get determined, we get motivated to deal with the debris. And we do whatever we have to do to be able to get that done. Much like the souls that were here this weekend at Star Nations Academy for the class, Awakening to Your True Potential was the name of the class with Polly Jo LeBay. And so the souls that came here for that class, I think, truly fit that description. Is that, the driving the 8 hours, the committing to be here on by Friday early evening, right? Those of us that came in with no makeup on Saturday or Sunday. Why? Because we knew that we're gonna be crying. Why ruin the makeup? And we did what we had to do to be able to get to the root, right? Yeah, we had to go to that deep end of the pool. And so in many ways, living up to the potential, reaching for it, being able to clear away some of the debris, if not a good portion of the debris, so that you can really sense, feel, see your true self, right? Yeah. All right. And so here is the rest of what the author has to say. She says, nurture your strengths. Recognize and appreciate what you can do when you are aligned with your true self. This is where you're meant to be. So look beyond yourself and your fears. Broaden your horizons and seize this opportunity to help and make a difference in the world. And the prayer is, help me, Great Spirit, see beyond my own needs to that of my relations and the world. Guide me to claim my true power by developing and sharing my gifts with others in a loving manner. Right? So in other words, when we can live our lives, experience our lives through the balance of our mind and our heart, so our high heart, right? And to be able to take our gifts and our wisdom, all that experience that we've learned, and take it to our community. So we're traveling the good road that goes from the south of the wheel to the north of the wheel. Our community lies in the north, where the stone people reside. Imagine that. So, it's about seizing the opportunities that Spirit puts in our path. And many times we have to step around, over, through the obstacles and the fear, right? And the fear. I remember the first time I traveled outside of the United States by myself. It was when I went to Ireland the first time. Yeah. I was nervous. I was like, oh my God, I got to go through customs and all of that. There was a lot of obstacles I had to overcome. How do you pay for it? I had to get my passport. I didn't have a passport at the time. And so there was things that had to be put into place in order for me to go. And the day that I left, I was nervous. There's so many things that could happen. And yet, I went. And that was the beginning of my relationship with Grandmother Earth from an old Irish Celtic point of view. And it's something that I don't regret doing, because I've done it many, many times now, to go to Ireland. And so when we're taking in the essence of this particular card, Stone Self, right? Turning your attention within. And even if you're going through the dark night of the soul kind of situation, you can still sense, feel, or see your inner light, your inner power. It may be dim, it may be a weak pulse, but it's still there. It's still there. And so our inner power, right? Our inner light. And seizing the opportunities to really use our gifts and our wisdom that we gained with our community. Right? No matter what your gifts are. No matter what your gifts are. Roberta's saying, wow, Stone of Self, awesome and crazy. I know, right? And she's also saying, couldn't be more perfect. Exactly. And I think this is Stephanie saying, and dig under. Yes. Excavating. We were calling it excavation this past weekend. We're excavating, digging deep, looking at what's on the surface, acknowledging what's on the surface, and then going deeper and deeper until you get to what is the root of the fear? What's at the root? And sometimes having to look at things or acknowledge things that your mental mind doesn't want to acknowledge, right? Yeah. And that takes courage. It takes courage to look at something or to consider the possibilities of something that will rock your world, right? Yeah. And yet we did it. We did it. There was the strength of the souls that were in this room not too many hours ago, cheering each other on, calling each other out when it was like, are you sure? Helping us to see something a little bit deeper, or sensing it going deeper, being there for each other in support, right? Sending love, unconditional love, as close as possible to that during the healing session. So, we each have it within us. And for me, the exciting part is when you're witnessing somebody's use of their gifts and their inner strength, right? Yeah. Because some of us are one of our gifts could be artwork or writing or singing or the art of listening, right? The art of and some people might call it a science, is to be able to have the spatial awareness that you're mechanically inclined, right? That's a gift. Especially for those of us that aren't, that we can turn to you and say, can you help me with this? Yeah. Julie saying, using dynamite at times. Yes, we did, didn't we? Yes, we did. Sometimes we use, what was that phrase? Using the tool, the best tool possible for the situation. Instead of using, something small, sometimes we needed something a little bit more powerful. And Stephanie is saying, excavation of what's on the surface and digging deeper to the roots. Yes, that was one of my quotes. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, it was a pleasant, smiled, big moment when this first card came up. Because Polly Jo was still here, and as I was drawing the card, she was kind of assisting with it. And this is when that first card came up. We both looked at each other and just started laughing. This is so appropriate. So appropriate. Yeah, Spirit definitely, we know for a fact that Spirit was here and Spirit was assisting us. There's no way that we can deny it. There's no way that we can try to explain it away with, something logical, right? Those that were here know for a fact that Spirit was in this building helping us. Okay, so the second card that came is experience. It's a spirit path of the West. Spirit path of the West called experience. And it's about letting go, movement forward, and reflection. Don't you just love that image? So we have Raven, right? Both on both shoulders in artwork and also as the bird itself. We also have wolf. Experience, spirit path of the West. And in the West, is the element of water, emotion. Yeah. And so when we experience the medicine or the spirit of the West, we're really experiencing our own emotions. All of them, the full range. Not just the tears and sadness. It is that too. And not just the anger, it is that too. But it's also the joy and the laughter and the silliness and love, right? Yeah. We talked quite a bit about unconditional love, and the fact is that most of us have never have received or felt what it's like to receive unconditional love. And those of us that have, it is something that we never forget. No matter how long ago it was, it could be decades ago, that first experience of unconditional love. And we still remember it like it was just today. And so, if at all possible, is to experience what it's like to give and receive unconditional love. Take the opportunity, right? All right. So in the placement of this particular card, or essence of this card, is number 38. It's an 11. It's a master number. Mastering the emotion, mastering the balance between your emotions and your mind. And many times we experience that in the letting go, in the moving forward, and in the reflection, right? When we reflect on our lives, when we reflect on an event or a situation, it's nice when we can get to the point in that reflection of experiencing it or being with it from both our mental mind and our emotions and our heart, right? So it's in that balance. Yeah, Stephanie, we actually said this a few times. I think it was Polly Joe's analogy about using the correct or the best possible tool for the situation. Right? She was using her husband's an experience that he has as a plumber, and how you can sometimes use one tool. It'll get the job done, but it might take longer. Might be a little bit harder than using the most appropriate or the best tool possible for it. So you're kind of trying to make do and using a tool that's not the best for it. Yeah, how many of us have done that? Used a butter knife to tighten a screw on something, right? Yeah. Not the best tool. It works, but it doesn't quite do the best job. All right, let's find out from the author what she says about this card. Experience. She says you're faced with letting someone you love live out their own life. I'm going to say that again. You are faced with letting someone you love live out their own life. Experience is something we cannot teach others. We can share what happened to us and how it has affected our lives, But until others have gone through their own experiences, there's no way of knowing how it will affect them. Which is true, isn't it? I gotta turn the page. It says, learn to lead by example, drawing on the knowledge you have gained from your own experience. Let go of control. Let go of control and trust that the lessons you have taught your loved one in the past will serve them well with their own future choices. Take some time for reflection in your own life. Whatever your situations you have recently undergone need time to settle. For it's only after reflection that we can truly draw upon the knowledge gained and then move forward. Honor this knowledge you have gained and use it wisely to co-create a future that is aligned with your higher purpose. This card is also a reminder to live your life fully in the present with no regrets over the past. So, in a way, this card reminds me of parenting, right? That parents do the best, most parents do the best they can to offer information about their experiences to their children as they're growing and why they should or shouldn't do something a certain way, right? And then when that child becomes of an age where they're going to be going out on their own, sometimes some parents have a hard time letting go because they want to protect their child from harm, right? Totally get that. And yet in that protection, sometimes what they do is interfere with their child's experiences, how they're going to experience life, and using their own gifts, right? And I can understand that. I can understand the fear around that from a parent. But it really, if you don't allow that person, that soul, to have its experiences that they came here to have, that interference is really what you're doing is interfering with their soul contract, not allowing them to gain the wisdom that they need to do for their soul growth, right? Yeah, I know. There again, easy to say, hard to do. Especially all those parents this time of year. You know, it's after most high schools are done for the year, and so people are going on their summer vacations or summer break. And those that have graduated from high school or have gotten their GED around this time, you know, parents are reluctant. Some parents, I should say, are reluctant to let go. And yet some of those same parents are the parents that are saying, what are my gifts? I don't know what my gifts are. Why am I here? What's my soul purpose here? And they're seeking, right? Yeah. It's interesting. I think it's fascinating that that taking that experience and gaining your wisdom from it, right? Doesn't matter what age you are. It's not attached to our linear age. It's not. Yeah. Andrea's saying, for me, the letting go may be referring to my mother who passed away last year and the mental processing you go through after the death of a loved one. Oh, you're so right, Andrea. Really, you are. Because, you know, even though as an awakened soul, right, awakened being, you know intellectually that our soul is immortal and continues to exist, even though it may not have a physical body to reside in, right? We know this. We know that in spirit, our loved ones are only but a thought away. They're like right here in the next plane next to us, right? Intellectually, we get that. Emotionally, not so much. Not so much. We call it grief, right? We miss their physicality. We miss hearing their voice. We miss touching them. We miss them, right? They're that part of them that made them human, their body, their voice. Yeah. And yet, in spirit, they're right here next to us. They're right here next to us. So I totally understand, Andrea, and I agree with you. Same thing happened to me when my dad passed, when he walked on. And it'll be 8 years since he's been gone. And there's moments within a day or moments within, a week or whatever that he comes to my mind. And when that happens, of course I miss him. Or we're telling a story about him, right? Things that he'd done. And so we start to laugh, but whenever we do that, we know that we're calling him to us. Yeah. The letting go of a loved one when they're crossing or when they're about to cross, right? And it doesn't matter how old that loved one is. That loved one could be 100 years old, like my mom, right? Or 90 something, or 30 something, or 40 something, or a child. Letting our loved ones go as they cross over back into spirit is difficult. It's very difficult, that letting go. And sometimes that letting go, especially in that situation, sometimes it's more about us, isn't it? And not so much the one that we called mom or dad or brother or sister or niece or nephew, those who have walked on. It really is about those of us that are left here in the physical world yet. Letting go. How many of us stop the tears, even in the grieving process, because we were taught not to cry. Don't share your weakness. That was my mother's. Don't show anybody out your weakness. Don't cry in front of them. To show our emotions, right? And so we stop it. We suppress it. Instead of allowing the tears to flow and the feelings to be there, we stop it. Yeah. Let me tell you, there is some truth to this next statement. That when you hand someone a Kleenex, you're really asking them to stop crying, because they're bringing something up within you. And so it's hard to watch that, hard to participate, especially when you're not ready to experience it. Yeah, we went through a lot of Kleenex at the very beginning. And let me tell you, and we certainly had some tears flowing here this weekend. All right. So Andrea's saying, yes, you are right. And also letting go of things that were not so great. Yes. Because we experience both, right? We experience both. Yeah. And sometimes this is mine. Sometimes it's letting go of the ideal situation, the one that we imagine and conjure in our mental mind, almost like it is a something off from television out in Hollywood, right? The white picket fence kind of things. And for me, it has to do with my mom too. It's like the ideal would be that the entire family would come to her and not just one person being responsible for her entire care. That we would all share in that and share in the experience of being with her, right? Yeah, but it's not that way, and it's not going to be that way. I've tried for 8 years, and I had to let go of that ideal situation I had in my mind, that's the only way it was going to get, the only way that it could happen. And I had to let that go. Right? So sometimes it's difficult in the letting go, and other times it's a relief in the letting go. But in either case, as soon as you let go, you have movement. You can go forward. When you're not hanging on to something so tightly. And in the reflection piece, it's, that how did it help? What kind of lesson did I learn in all of that? That's in the reflection. That's when we get to say, oh yeah, I can recognize that now, Yeah. And that's in the wisdom that we've gained. Rochelle says, I'm thoroughly enjoying these spiritual discussions. Me too. Me too. All right. Here is the prayer for this card. It says, Great Spirit, help me to accept the experiences of my life, to grow beyond my limitations and move forward. Help me allow others to live out their own life experiences by just offering my love and support along the way. Right? I like that. I really do. Accepting the experiences of my life, because we are the creators of our lives, even though sometimes we think, why would I do that to myself? I don't agree with that. Why would I create, a horrific situation for myself? But we do create it. We do create it. We create it through the decisions that we've made, one after another. We've created it with the thoughts that we think. And sometimes we follow that up with the verbalness of it, right? And so no matter whether it is a positive or a negative situation, we're creating it, which means that we can recreate it, right? Yeah. So I'm going to show you the two cards together. And you know that what we found out is that when we take that nice deep breath in, and on the exhale is talking to your team and asking them to help you to really bring in the information in an optimal way to you, so that even though you might not understand it in your mental mind, that your other aspects of yourself are taking in the information in its fullness. Okay, so here we go. Stone of self, right? Inner power, true self, and potential. Experience, and that's the spirit path of the West. It's about letting go and movement forward and reflection. Yeah. See, sometimes it's in the letting go. The letting go helps us to reveal our true self, to experience our true self. The letting go in our healing work for ourselves healing those traumas, sometimes we don't want to let that go, our story around the trauma, right? Because for some reason or somehow it feeds us, whether it's our ego or something like that, that it makes it difficult to let it go. And yet when you do let it go, it's like here's another metaphor that Polly Joe used. It's like being stretched, like your rubber band, right? When you're being stretched. And in that stretch is when we're facing our fears, healing those wounds, right? And when you let go of a preconception or judgment or anything like that, it's like you let go of that rubber band that you're stretching, and your soul growth takes off like a shot. You start moving forward, right? Yeah, because you got some power behind it. And what's that power? It's your inner power. It's you to move you forward. To move you forward into your next life's lesson so that you can gain the wisdom from that experience. And when that happens, you get soul growth. And with that soul growth, you have the opportunity to be kind to those around you by sharing your wisdom with them, which improves your soul growth. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Roberta's saying, Milne, the author of Pooh, wrote, I can't go through it for you, but I'll sit with you as long as you need me. Yeah, that's so true, isn't it? Yeah, love that. Love the books, love the, there was so much more in the Winnie the Pooh books than just a children's book, right? Yeah. It's got some good stuff in there. All right, so you know that anything that was shared today, that if it resonated with you, whether it was a word or a phrase in part, or the whole thing, whatever it was that resonated with you, my suggestion is that you embrace it. Hold it close. And then watch how the energy of today unfolds around you and where this information may be helpful to you, right? And you could be a witness to it, which is even more, I don't even know if there's a word for it. It's just more. When you have the opportunity to witness the growth of another person, when you witness their healing and their letting go and experiencing their true emotion, recognizing and seeing their true self, maybe for the first time. It's in witnessing that we have the sacred honor in sharing that part of their lives with us, right? And that we're the ones that can say, yeah, it really happened. I was there. I saw it. I felt it, right? Yeah. So if it didn't resonate with you, don't worry about it. It's okay. There's always tomorrow. Tomorrow's cards. No worries. Okay. So we've got some things coming up for you here at Star Nations. Tonight is the Tarot Journey with Julie Hedges, and Julie is continuing her discussion about the Cosmic Report card. It's part 2 of that discussion, and so you can join her at 9 p.m. Eastern Time for that particular conversation. She says, "What do the stars and planets have to tell us about the hard work and the reward?" She says that Pluto helps us clear out the debris and refuse. It can be dirty work, Saturn is the taskmaster that keeps us working until it's done. But when it's all cleaned up, it feels brand new. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, about the energies of Pluto and Saturn and how they help us. Okay, so that's tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. And then tomorrow at noon is Polly Jo LeBay's show, Chakra Sessions, at noon Eastern. And she is sharing about the communion with the divine. What are the ways to expand your relationship with divine? Yeah. Investigating these topics, automatic writing and guidance or channeling, all of that. She's going to be sharing with us. And then tomorrow, Tuesday night, is my weekly evening show, Communications from Home, and that's on at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're going to be talking about the Blue Road. You know, you hear me talk a lot about the Red Road, right? Well, we're going to be talking about the Blue Road on Tuesday night and turning points along that road. Turning points. I'm hoping that we're going to have some keen insight that will help us change direction in some aspects, right? Okay. And then on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time is Soul Connections with Polly Jo LeBay. That's her evening weekly show, and that's all about healing and divine messages. The first half of the show is a healing meditation, and the second half is that if you'd like to have a card drawn for you and a mini reading, Polly Jo will do that for you. Then we have one more thing, and that's on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time is our monthly free mini class at Star Nations Academy. And this month, I'll be teaching a 1-hour class about smudging. I've gotten more questions over the years about this, but even this weekend, there was a question about smudging. So we're going to be covering just the basics, okay, and answering questions that you have. And that's at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday night. That is June 20th, right? No, yeah, June 20th. I have the wrong date in there. Shh. I'll correct that and give it to Stephanie. Okay, so thank you so much for being with me today for Spiritual Roundtable, and we'll see you back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time for the Spiritual Roundtable and the Spiritual Conversation. Bama Mina, that means in Potawatomi, until we see each other again. Love you guys.